Sorry about my gaffe in the last video. I've been reading about Lucy Letby and I got the Lucys mixed up. It was Lucy Connolly I was referring to with the 2.8 month prison sentence. So I'm going to do this video just about sentencing. This is what worries me. I'm looking on Google. So let's just take it simple. What do people get sent to prison for? Here's what it says. Imprisonment is the most severe sentencing available to the courts and is reserved for the most serious offensive. The length of the sentence depends on the seriousness of the offence and the maximum penalty allowed by law. Seriousness of the offence. Now, imprisonment for the most severe sentences, it's for bad crimes. It's for rape, it's for murder, it's for manslaughter. It's for serious stuff. Not for tweets, surely. Not for tweets by people giving them 24 hours wouldn't have tweeted it. Not, please, for social media comments because information has been clearly withheld from us. Every single commentator is talking about it. From GB News presenters like Patrick Christie to Ben Habib on his Twitter page are saying that the government must have had all this information that they now delivered the night before the budget. And we've got people in Great Britain sitting in jail cells in the most severe way, not hardened criminals who are used to this system, who it's a way of life for them. These are people who have had nothing to do with breaking the law. And one man, Peter Lynch, sadly, apparently, according to reports, took his own life. But did he? Was he bullied? Was he attacked? We don't know. We've only got one version of events, and sadly that comes from the media. And the media get it from the government, and we can't relax into trusting what they say because they drip feed information to us. There's an accident in Glasgow where someone's been decapitated in allegedly a road accident. But that's all they've got to say. We've got no more information. It creates suspicion. Withholding information creates suspicion. And that's bad. That's the bit that winds people up. That's the bit that gets people behaving out of character and you know, they're probably wound up about other events like how much their household gas bill is, or the cost of living, or the fact they can't get a child place for their siblings in school. There could be a number of other things winding people up with the way we've been handled this past few years. And this government is the most inept. It's got no idea how to react to the people. And as usual, the biggest complaint I see on social media since the Southport incident is the fact that the government seemed to bypass the tragic loss of the 3 little girls and those that got injured trying to save them. That's just been bypassed. It's just used as a point in time while they talk about the reaction to it. And that's the bit that's wrong, because that means you've got a reactionary government. That's not good. You should have a government that's got foresight, that plans, that has things in place for when things go wrong. But they can't, can they? They can't have things in place because they've depleted the police by so many bodies. Did somebody say on a podcast that they've got 40,000 less officers than we had 10 years ago? But someone will probably put it on the thread. How can you police a growing population, especially when you're inviting people into the country from overseas who don't see the world like we do, who think it's okay to go around London on a moped with a machete? I mean, machetes, you only saw them in Tarzan films. Now they're on the streets of London, Manchester, Birmingham, Nottingham. And this is because there's not enough funding put into the police so that we can apprehend criminals quickly. You've only got to look at the videos that you see on social media of how these disturbances break out and all these what look like foreign-looking men come on the streets, arguing and falling out, damaging vehicles. It's lawlessness. If you haven't got people to uphold the law, then it's lawlessness. And that's what we're faced with. And simultaneously, as we're faced with this lawlessness, we've got people who are absolutely no threat to society in our jail cells as people who have attacked children, women are freed. Domestic violence offenders, they don't change their MO. They don't stop because they've gone to prison. You know, one woman who has a restraining order out was told, I think it was about a week after, that the offender, her former partner, was being released because they've no room in the jails. How can a government expect people to accept and correlate this as normal? When a girl like Lucy Connolly, and I'm really sorry I got her name wrong last time, I've been reading about Lucy lately, how can we be comfortable knowing that that young woman who's guilty of letting off steam online with unsuitable wording is sitting in jail for 2 years, 8 months? Nobody can think that's rational. And what are the lawyers doing that are supposed to make sure that you get best representation? We saw with the GB News interview that guy that had been arrested, a former prison officer himself, in a wheelchair for tweeting online, and he stuck to his guns and pleaded not guilty. And he was ridiculed by authority figures saying, you've no chance, you've no chance. I mean, this is the government using the law and the legal system and the police for their own ends, isn't it? Isn't that what dictators do? And tyrannical leaders, don't they do that? Isn't that why China's called a police state? Isn't that why we don't, you know, people with democracy don't copy these states normally, but we seem to be copying everything that they do, from lockdowns to very bad policing. You know, we've got police who can't even chase a criminal because they're out of condition. That's not a good police force. So where do we start with this? Where do we get control back? Well, we get control back by complaining about it for a start, by writing to your MP, by letting them know how much you're letting them down. They're letting us down, should I say. But when you think people are sitting in jail in space that they can't afford to tie up, basically, because of things they said online, which isn't even verbal in some cases, it's the written word. And that's no way to run a country. That really is seriously flawed. And Darren Grimes, Ben Habib, Patrick Christmas, Bev Turner, Dan Wootton, all these commentators that have any common sense have been talking about it. You know, Paul Thorpe, me and Paul talked about it on that podcast I did with him. How are you supposed to bring your kids up? You know, and think, oh, well, when they've qualified in their job or they've left uni, they'll go and get a nice job and, you know, they'll be okay. When terrible crimes, street crime, where people are stabbed and knifed with screwdrivers and things that are handy, and that man that was attacked with his dog and a pram, stabbed in the neck by a passing, what looked like a migrant, you can't even walk down the street and feel safe in some of our cities. People are advised not to go out alone, and it's the same across Europe, it's no different. So what sort of society are we nurturing here? Because it seems to me there's this tier of people right at the top, the billionaire class, who talk about sustainability and farmland and air quality and carbon emissions. Talk about all that, all the big stuff. And then you come further down the food chain and all the little people, they look at us, I think, like livestock. I think we are collateral damage. And people who get gobbled up with a street crime where their life ends or is changed forever, they're not interested. They're not interested in Lucy Connolly sitting in jail, probably terrified, all your personal possessions taken away from you. It just doesn't. It's just beyond belief. It's beyond belief. I don't know any sane person that wouldn't complain about that. So this video is just about the sentencing, really, and how overzealous it is. Imprisonment is the most severe sentence available to the courts and is reserved for the most serious offences. These are the most serious offences. None of these people are a threat to the public when they come out. And they're certainly not a threat to other prisoners while they're in. And they certainly shouldn't be sitting in jail cells.